For patch notes, there were 6 parts to the balance changes and some Guardbreak vulnerability changes thrown in on the end, so there is plenty to discuss, including a Virtuosa nerf. But first, JC thanked players for feedback they received because they got a lot of feedback from players during that last testing ground, so pat yourself on the back for playing your role in trying to ensure the right feats make it live. They are still going through the feedback, so you will not see those feats go live now in the Y9 Season 3 Title Update 2 update. What you will see go live now from that testing grounds is the revenge changes. Revenge gets fed on the damage you are actually dealing instead of being based on the damage you would have dealt before the modifiers. So JC mentioned it will have immediate impacts, especially on competitive play, so that's great news there. Other patch notes coming up with the Y9 Season 3 Title Update 2 update is on Shard Point A, we have a map change. They removed the spikes and the barrier that divided space on Point A. Most of you might remember Ed. He's the primary map designer. Ed stated via a message that JC relayed, and he said, quote, "We saw the feedback of the bugginess with the spikes, so we needed to address it. They are investigating it, and if they can make any changes to the functionality of the spikes overall, they will. No promises, but they may be able to make it more interesting." And of course, I added the they in there, but they may be able to make it more interesting. So the spikes could return in the future. They just got to figure out what they're going to do. Now for the balancing. I don't know why they broke it out like this, but this is how they did. So balancing part 1. Lawbringer got a nerf. They reduced lateral movement on shove from side dodges, and thank goodness, because Lawbringer was phasing like a mofo through some of my attacks that made me be like, ain't no way he should have dodged that, especially when I'm delaying my attack. And he still was able to side dodge, not only when I dodged and didn't throw, but also my delayed attack. So I'm actually glad that they're making this change. Scent got a situational micro buff, increased forward movement when feigning jab and charge jab. There were situations where Scent would hit an opponent and then go into a charge jab and feign it, and when the opponent rolls, Scent would not be able to reach. So now you should be able to reach the roll that some players would do, but other than that, you won't notice much with this change. BP got a little nerf. GB vulnerability on Bulwark Slash is now 200 milliseconds, up from 100 milliseconds. They stated BP could throw his Bulwark Slash with too much safety, so they wanted to make some adjustments. Making 200 milliseconds helps solve that. It has impacts on frame advantage and makes the move less safe. For balancing change part 2, Warlord got a change, and I won't even call it a nerf. So crash and charge no longer stuns or deals stamina damage when wall splatting. Because of the changes the team has been making to stamina drain, and that stun doesn't matter when you're already going to get a free heavy anyway, they decided to remove this. And this is just a sensible house cleaning move that won't have any impact, even though this should be done, and it should have been done already. But this is a good time to make this change. Highlander got a small nerf. Chain lights now deal 13 damage down from 15. They wanted to make it more in line with that weapon and attack speed. It's a minor nerf, but is meant to affect Highlander in defensive stance. Shaman got a buff. Predator's Mercy now costs 12 stamina, down from 20. This was done so she can actually use the move more often. Positive steps for Shaman players. Balance changes part 3, Jormungandr got a buff. Hammer Slam is back to dealing 30 damage, up from 26 damage. I definitely know Jorm players will be happy to see that. They decided to give it back because of the way the game has evolved, and also because the move can be interrupted, and it made sense to do this. And this just shows again, just because something is taken away, it doesn't mean it won't come back. And Stamina Drain isn't coming back, and I don't want it to come back, but this is definitely a good change for Jorm. Kensei got a buff and a nerf. He now has 130 health, which is up from 125. This puts him in line with other Vanguards, and thank goodness. However, Top Heavy Finisher now deals 32 damage, down from 34 damage, and they said this is a slow move that you can play off of, and they may lower it even more because that's still slightly above their damage cap of 30. So stand by for more nerfing potentially, Kensei players. I personally hope they leave Kensei alone. I understand their caps and balancing, but when playing him, I don't think nerfs of any kind are what this hero needs. He doesn't need any nerfs. Orochi got a nerf. Adjusted his zone attack's trajectory and angle to be more in line with this animation. So the feedback received said it hit too wide, and it did. So now they reduced it and made it less safe for the Orochi players, which they needed to. This is an appropriate change for Orochi. No move should be that safe. They said Orochi used to be a bad hero, they made changes to him, and now he's overperforming. That comment made me wonder though, what is next on the chopping block for Orochi, so stay tuned, Orochi lovers. It might be more than an adjusted zone attack that's coming. Balancing's Part 4, Kyoshin Light Nerf. Kaze's stance light attacks now deal 6 damage, down from 8. They wanted to make him less oppressive because he was getting too much damage from that. So not mad at that change at all. Shaolin got a lights nerf. Double side light and third side light now deal 3 damage, down from 4. So that's 2 damage nerf total. They said it was too much damage based on what they expect heroes to get from a heavy parry. So that's why they made this change, to just bring it back in line. Astonishing Blossom now deals 14 damage, down from 17. That's your light and key stance. The damage on superior block doesn't change. Zanhu got a damage buff. So Torture and Maneuver now deals 30 damage when performing after a successful superior block, up from 24. Torture and Maneuver is that top unblockable. They want players using this more, so by upping the damage, they believe it will incentivize players to use it more. Balancing Part 5, Pirate received a necessary nerf. Cavalier Dance, which is the front dodge heavy, is now performed 33 milliseconds later during a front dodge. They wanted to make sure it wasn't guaranteed after a heavy parry. This was necessary because of the Pirate change they made last time to make it more difficult to parry Pirate. But the problem is, you could then get the unblockable forward dodge heavy on heavy parry, and that's a problem. So this change fixes that. It needed to happen, be happy that it did. Hatun gets a buff. Zone attack now costs 20 stamina, down from 30. She's a feint heavy hero, so this is just to help the hero and make it more accessible. Priceless Control now deals 10 damage, up from 9, so 1 damage increase. Priceless Control is the light attack you get after you perform your Bloody Wrath move out of your full guard Fear and Fury move. They did this to reward players a little bit more for that choice of attack. So balancing Part 6, which is the moment I know a lot of you really were waiting for. Virtuosa received a nerf.
Are you happy?
Sideways Misdirect is now a 600 millisecond attack, up from 533 milliseconds. It was difficult for players to react to her side dodge attack, and they expect this to relieve some of the tension when she's side dodging. It should now be easier to react to, especially those on older gen, like my guy Nightfire, who's a beast, but he's playing on older gen, so it's more difficult to react. So that's gonna be helpful. And that's the first Virtuosa nerf for all those people that were wanting something to be done. I'm sure it's not enough, but at least it's something. Conqueror got a little buff. Crash and Apprehension can now be performed from 100 milliseconds to 500 milliseconds during a front dodge, up from 100 milliseconds to 300 milliseconds. The Rollcatcher wasn't working like they intended. This now allows Conq to delay it a bit more to help with the roll catching element. Crash and Apprehension now has more forward movement when it is feigning, and this will help with closing the distance when feigning the move to GB. It's good stuff for Conq, and especially coming so soon after he got his Rollcatcher, and I always like to see that when they make those quick adjustments. And we have some Guardbreak vulnerability changes. So Jormungandr, Shinobi, Hatun, Shaolin, and Conqueror. The forward dodge heavy attack now have 200 milliseconds of Guardbreak vulnerability, up from 100 milliseconds. The problem with these heroes was they were functionally immune to GB with their feigntable forward dodge heavy. That's what JC said. Now they can't use those attacks to disallow the opponent to GB. So those are the patch notes, those are the changes, but I do want to make a mention of one of the things that they said. So JC mentioned that there were people not on camera today that were in the studio rehearsing things in mocap for the future. So that's a good sign for For Honor as it continues to press forward towards year 10 and maybe beyond. And it provides us players with content that we can either love or talk mess about and complain about like we always do. But I like to hear that those guys are continuing, guys and gals, I should say, are continuing to work and get things done.